All right, welcome back, guys. Now what we should have on paper in front of us for you to be able to take notes is the Coldwell Banker Professionals Broker Requirements. Now, let me start by stating that although broker requirements is the title, it's not really a broker requirement. It's more like a broker directive, broker information, broker instructions, because all things that are on here are what parties to getting this transaction to a closing and closed. It's all information that they may need. So as you're going, why am I filling this out? Because somebody in this transaction needs this information. So here we go. What is the MLS number? And whatever MLS it is, please put that in the appropriate space. If it's in a couple of them, such as RealComp and MI RealSource is a good possibility, put both numbers in on this. Is this your listing? And matter of fact, let me pause for a moment. With the way this form is set up, it is the new listing, it is the pending, it is the closing form. You see, this one document handles all three circumstances. New listing, pending, closing. It's all three. So as you go through this, I want you to see that it's that way. Now, if I'm taking a listing, if this is my listing, I'm going to be completing all information. If I've written on someone else's listing, I'm only going to be able to put in the information that I can find through the MLS. But I'm going to put the listing side of the pending transaction in. So right now at this point, we're going to pretend that we are the listing agent. So we know that we want to have pre-title. We're going to check if we've sent this directly or communicating with our admin to have them order pre-title. If you did it, you're going to, it's my listing. I emailed or faxed this over to the title company on this date. Admin now knows. If it's my sale, have I faxed and emailed the broker requirement to the title company? If so, what date did you do that? Again, this is for the admin's information so that they know what to do. Is this a CBP co-list or co-sale? Is anybody in this involved as a transaction coordinator? You'll know by watching the recordings, it's not something that I believe we should do. It doesn't mean that there will not be circumstances where you might, but most of the time, you won't be a transaction coordinator. It's going to be rare, as a matter of fact. Now, there's going to be some obvious things on here. The property. Fill in the information, guys, and fill in all of the information, please. It's there. All of this, if you're on the buy side and you're completing this as a pending, it's all there. The only thing you wouldn't have potential, well, you're not going to have the expiration date unless it's your listing, but you would have the list date. That's all on the MLS. Now, if it's your listing, is it coming soon? Is it a qualifying global luxury property? Did you do this as a one-party listing, or rare nowadays, but is it a short sale? Guys, you know the information. Check the boxes if they apply. Now, is the seller offering buyer agent compensation? It's exactly what it says. Has the seller directed you to offer compensation? If so, yes. If not, it's no. If it's yes, what was the amount that they've directed you to offer? Obviously, your listing, you've got all of this information. Put it in. If you are the buyer's agent making a pending, guys, do an agent search and put all of this information in. You know, here's a special circumstance. as a managing broker, if you might not be available and there's something I got to have, I got to take care of, I've got to have this information. Seller information. Same thing we got going on here. And notice seller is a U.S. citizen. This needs to be checked. Don't wait to get to a closing table to have a big old surprise where you've got to handle an upset seller because they didn't know that a portion of their funds was going to be retained because of FERPTA. Folks, we need to have an honest, frank check of the source. This helps us as a company to know where do we invest our monies, our marketing dollars as a company, where do we put it? Because when we start to see anomalies, things that stand out, that's where we're going to want to put our money at. What's the seller's full legal name? Both of them, their marital status. What's the current mailing address? What's going to be the forwarding address? Now, you may have this, should have this if it's available because it's your listing. You're not likely to have it, and it's not important if this is not your listing, you're on the buy side. Matter of fact, at that point, you may not have and wouldn't be likely to have the forwarding address or the emails or phone numbers of the sellers. They're not your sellers, and it's not for us to ask for that information. Our listing, we are going to say yes to just listed postcards. Know that the first 25 are free and that additional ones are available for you to be able to send out should you choose to use that service. Check with your admin or your managing broker for more information toward this. The only time that you may have no being checked is when it's a just listed lease or a just sold, we'll come up on that, lease, because they are just sold. And that's probably about the only time you wouldn't have it. Now, we're going to put the listing title company in and the contact information for the individual handling it. If it's not your listing, you're on the buy side, you need this information. Get it and fill it in. The listing agent's not likely to provide it right up front. You need to ask for it, put this in and turn it in with the completed information. Complete everything that we can. Now, your listing, guys, you know whether or not the property is free and clear. Why does that matter? Well, do we have to get a payoff? It may be free and clear, but have they got the document, the discharge, the mortgage discharge? If not, we still need to know, well, who was the first, who was the second, if it existed? Existing land contract. Is there a payoff letter? We need the payoff authorizations. And you'll see that coming up. Is there an existing land contract? Is it in a trust or an LLC? Did you get a copy of the trust certificate? There needs to be a current one, typically dated within the previous year. Within the last 12 months, it needs to be dated. Is the seller going to be at closing with this? If we know the stuff in advance, we need to check it off. Is there a death certificate involved? Do we have a copy of it? Do you have the actual, or are we going to have the seller bring that to closing? Is there a divorce involved? If there is, we need the full divorce decree. And of course, have you checked, or through pre-title, are there any special assessments that are in part of this property? Is it assumable, you'll want to know, because that's going to be a big part of how we market the property. Now, with that listing, the additional information. Is it on city water or city sewer? Is it well or septic? Do we have all of the inspection if it's necessary? Is it new construction or is it a manufactured home? There's a difference when it's a manufactured home. There's things that you have to take care of when you have that. Is there a homeowners association or a condos association? Don't get confused just because it says homeowners association. If it's a condo, then there should be a condo association, and we need the contact information. Guys, I'm going to tell you, get this at the time of listing. It's a lot more difficult to get this from a seller later on after you've already got everything listed. Now, the documents for the new listing. If you will, it's a checklist for you because these are the documents that you should have, because all of these would be required except for a seller guarantee, personal property sheets, which I don't recommend because it should be included on the offer. I've never seen a reason to have something on a separate sheet of paper and off of the purchase agreement. Most likely, if it can't be on a personal agreement, there shouldn't be a personal property sheet. If you have a personal property sheet, it should be referenced on the property or on the purchase agreement itself. Are you doing anything extra in regards to the 25 free postcards just listed? That should be on here, the continuity form, if you're going to be doing that. And the last part you have is the short sale package, if you have that. So obviously, that's only if you have a short sale. Now, here's the second part to this. The contract date for a pending offer. At this point, it's pending. Now, it could be this is the first that you're completing this form because you're on the buyer side of a transaction. In which case, I'm going to complete all this pending information, but don't forget to go back to page 1 and start at the beginning and filling in all information that you should have on the listing and information that you do have access to and should have. What if I'm on the listing side and somebody else wrote this? Guys, same thing. You're just on the opposite side. Get the information that you should have. Now, the contract date is obvious. Contract date is the date that it was accepted and we had delivery of acceptance. Who's the selling agent? Same as we were talking about before. If it's not you, go online, do an agent search, and grab all of their information. Buyer information, same thing, honest, frank. What was the source? Where did this individual come from? What is their legal names, marital status, current address? Obviously, if it's yours, you have it. Not yours, we're not going to have buyers' phone numbers, email addresses, may not have a mailing address. It may be on the purchase agreement. Now, as far as where do they have the money? Did it come from cash? Is it a conventional offer? Is it FHA, VA? Is there a MISHTA tie to being conventional? Or an RD being conventional? Is it a land contract or is there something other than the norm? Who is the mortgage company? Again, in your absence, we need to know this. Make sure that we have this information, regardless of what side of the transaction that you are on. If a land contract was accepted, here's just the big picture. Down payment, principal and interest, and the annual interest percentage. When is it due? Otherwise, they're a balloon payment. Who's the selling title company? So, we had the listing title company on page 1 with the listing. Now, we're on the selling, the buying side of the transaction. Who is the selling title company? Their contact information. Split closing is not a term that everybody understands, but here's what it's dealing with. A split closing is simply saying, are there two title companies involved? Now, if it's a cash deal, remember this one, Cash deal, there's one title company because there is one title policy. It is an owner's policy of title insurance. It is provided by the seller. Therefore, it is only one title company and the seller gets to choose who that is. In which case, we won't have a selling title company. However, when we have financing involved, conventional FHA, VA, RD, MISHTA, guys, we're going to have a mortgage policy of title insurance, and that's what the buyer is responsible for, and we're going to put that information in here. So a split closing is simply this. We have financing, and we have two different title companies. One for the seller and providing the owner's policy, two for the mortgage and the buyer providing a mortgage policy. If they are different companies, then we have a split closing. If I have title company A for the seller and there's title company B for the buyer, we have a split closing. If I have title company A for the listing and title company A for the buyer, it is not a split closing. We're dealing with one title company, even if it's two separate brokerages, one representing a seller, one representing a buyer. All right? Is it a lease? It's not applicable. We're going to check NA. If it is a lease, is there a copy of the lease? Do you have an inventory checklist? Otherwise, have I done an inspection of the property, a thorough checklist of every room in the house? What is the monthly rent? What's the security deposit? If there's a lease with option involved, you've had your managing broker involved, and they can help you with what this is, but what would the option monies be, and what is the end date for them to exercise the option? I'm not going to do this as a class on handling lease with options, but if you have that, just know it's a great time for you to be able to go in and talk with your managing broker. Are there attorney packages that need to be prepared? Is there an attorney who must review all of the documents, the paperwork, the closings? We want to know this in advance. Again, now is the buyer a U.S. citizen? We need to just make sure that we check that off. Who is the attorney, by the way, if it is required? So is there one for the seller, one for the buyer? Is none needed? Don't leave this unchecked. If there are none, click it. If there is one for the seller or one for the buyer, then we're going to put in the information necessary so we know where to get that off to. Power of attorney, POA, is there somebody who's going to sign on behalf of the seller or buyer or none? Most of the time, guys, you're going to be checking none. Please check none. That way we know you just didn't forget to fill it out or didn't know. We know that you know that at the time that you completed it, there was no power of attorney necessary. It may come up as we get to the closing that your seller or your buyer, I'm going to say most time your seller, would have potentially a power of attorney. Most of the time financing involved, buyers cannot have a power of attorney. What type of buyer is it? Again, this is for marketing purposes. We want to know, are they a first-time home buyer? Have they bought before? Is this a financial institution? Normally, it's one of these two. Now, to bring an end to the pending portion, this is simply a checklist for you to make sure that you've turned in all of the appropriate documents involved with a pending. Now, here's the third part to the form. It is the closing. Much of this can be completed once we have a pending. So we're filling in the pending portion and now the closing information. Most of this information is going to come off of the purchase agreement. What is the expected closing date? Otherwise, the close by date on the purchase agreement. What's the current sale price? The earnest deposit. What is the anticipated closing location? It may be TBD because it's not set, and that is understandable. Who's holding it? If it's us, check yes. If it's not us, check no. With the taxes, are there prorations or arrears or advance? If it's no proration, we check this. Rare. Sometimes arrears. Most of the time advance. Now, by the way, in your area, it may be most of the time arrears, occasionally advance. You need to know your municipalities, your taxing authorities, and how it's handled and what's customary for your area, or what's customary to the local municipality and customary for where that home is located. Occupancy, off of the purchase agreement. Is it done at close? If it's other, that means post-closing occupancy. How many days? What is it? Is there a rent escrow? How much is that? The water, sewer. What's the amount on the purchase agreements to be withheld if there is water or sewer escrow? The commission. Check here if it's based on the sales price. Most of the time it is. Occasionally you'll have some concessions, in which case our commission will be based on the net price, otherwise sale price less the concessions. We're now going to collect on this box. What is the amount of the concessions? Put that dollar amount in and calculate that. Commission due Coldwell Banker Professionals. Calculate it out and put the percentage. Is there a bonus paid to it? This should be rare now because we can only collect the maximum amount that we've agreed to on a buyer representation agreement. Are we using closing services? The company provides a service that will assist you in handling all of this, in which case this would be clicked. The commission, most of the time, is going to be paid by the seller. There are times, such as a cash offer, where it would be more likely that the buyer would be paying it. We obviously would put the dollar amount or the percentage. And occasionally, no, rarely, the listing broker. By the way, it is potential that we'll have the seller to pay a portion and the buyer to pay a portion, in which case check both seller and the amount that they would pay and the buyer and the amount that they would pay. From there, guys, we're down to, is there a referral that is involved in this? If there is, yes. If not, no. You can move on. If yes, who is the referring company and what is the referral fee? What's the percentage? Are you involved in the mentor program, and is there compensation to your mentor? If so, click and put the mentor's name. Compliance fees. Now, guys, it's just a name that we've given for our 3% plus $395 or $195 for a lease. It's a name, but it's the additional part of our compensation. So, we know it gets paid. So, is it paid by the seller? $395 to the seller, $195 for a lease. Is the seller paying it or is the agent going to pay it? If you are paying it, it will automatically be deducted on your commission check. When you see your breakdown, it will show that. Is there $395 for the buyer? Is the buyer paying it or is the agent paying it? $195 for a lease. Home warranty. Is there one? Who's it for? If there is one, who's the company providing it? What's the amount? And of course, we're going to call that in and have a confirmation number to be able to put on that, because it is set up prior to closing so that the money can be withheld and paid out of closing. Executed application must be attached. If no, waiver must be attached. So if you have a warranty, get the application and attach it to the file. Is it paid for by the buyer, by the seller, by the listing agent, by the selling agent? And if it's not there, who waived it? Just keeping it simple. And then finally, guys, the end of this, just sold postcard. So page 1 was just listed. Now we're on the just sold. If you are on the sold side of this, yes, you want them. Again, this may be the one time when you don't want, and that's when it's a lease closing. Because the postcard is going to say just sold, when in reality it was just leased. But remember, first 25 are free. That should just say yes. If you want additional postcards, see your admin to be able to tell them how many and what you need to do to be able to get that. Our continuity program, you should have learned about this from your admin. It is a follow-up program for years. They'll let you know how to be able to get that continuity form completed, but you're checking off yes. If so, who for, or yes for both, and then complete all of the necessary paperwork. There's another one down. Broker requirements complete. Keep going. Of course, reminder, the only way you're going to fill this out, if you're out talking to people and getting contracts signed. Go do it. See ya.